Do you want to win the design award or just have a clean, judge-ready engineering notebook? We're going to be going over 5 essential tips to take your VEX Robotics Engineering Notebook to the next level. We're going to be going over everything that you need to know to optimize your notebook and get a great score for those judging points. The first tip is to use lots of photos and diagrams. Judges absolutely love visual evidence, so including pictures in your notebooks is going to be a great way to catch their attention. A well-placed picture speaks way more than a paragraph. Now, when using pictures, try to use them for almost everything, including building, programming, and all other sorts of things that you do in VEX. As you can see on this page, the pictures are truly what makes the page come alive. And not only does it make everything more descriptive, but it actually allows for a more in-depth understanding of what you're trying to convey. I would recommend using 2 to 3 photos per each page on average. Some may be a few more, and some may be less. That brings us to tip number 2. Follow the engineering design process. The engineering design process is the backbone of your notebook. So if you're missing out on steps such as brainstorming, designing, and iterating, you're missing some valuable points on your notebook. Judges are going to score your notebook based on this rubric, which shows the steps of the engineering design process. Be sure to constantly be referencing the design process so the judges are able to give you nice, easy points. You always want to give the judges the easiest time in giving you points, so by constantly using the design process, you're going to optimize how many points you can get. Another good tip is when using the design process, you can actually use specific words and phrases directly from the design process. For example, if you're doing brainstorming, you can really just say brainstorming solutions in the description. Or if you're going over some game analysis, you can talk about identifying the problem. These phrases are key because they're actually part of the design process and they show up on the rubric, so be sure to use them in your notebook. A bonus tip is to make a page that looks something like this, which actually goes over the steps of the design process. This shows the judges that your notebook focuses on the design process, and it gives you and your team great insight on how to use this valuable process in your robots. Tip number 3 is don't hide your failures. Show them off. This might sound weird because aren't failures bad? Well, actually in robotics, they're amazing. Failures show the judges that you and your team are actually learning and iterating off of your mistakes. Failures are what's able to tell the story, not just the end result. If the judges can only see the end result, they're going to assume that you didn't actually learn anything along the way, and they love to see that story of you and your team progressing and learning. Always be sure to include your failures so that your judges know how you've iterated and gone through the design process. Not only this, but it's valuable for your team as well, because you can look back on these failures and reflect on them for what went wrong so you can then make better iterations in the future. Tip number 4 is to keep it clean and organized. A messy notebook is really hard to judge. A good structure leads to a great impression. Be sure to use bullets, headings, subtitles, and other things to format your notebook so that it's really appealing for the judges. While judges might not take off points specifically if your notebook isn't neat, it can actually make it a lot harder for them to find valuable information that they do need to give you other points. So, in some sense, it actually is deducting you points. Tip number 5 is to be specific and detailed. Remember that the idea of an engineering notebook is to allow whoever is reading it to go through your exact process and go through your entire journey. Now, we built a claw doesn't actually give the judges anything. However, we built a claw to improve grip strength tells a story, and that's what the judges want to hear. Always be sure to be detailed and precise when going over everything, including brainstorming, building, and even iterating your designs. This is going to be a really valuable tip as it will give the judges more to base off of, and you'll probably get more points on that. Be sure to include measurements, part names, and the why behind your choices. This will allow the judges to realize your motives and understand why you did things, which is really valuable when judging. If you look at a page like this description may be too much, so you don't really have to go this far. In fact, this much description may even be suboptimal because it's too much for the judges to read. However, Something like this is a good amount of description while also still giving enough room for the judges to see all the formatting and see what information goes where. It's nice and neat while also being descriptive, which is what you want to hit. Finding that middle ground is key. If you start using just 2 or 3 of these tips, your notebook will start improving fast. And not only will judges notice that, but it will help you and your team out so much when going through the design process and improving yourselves, not only in your robots, but also as engineers. If you found this video helpful, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel for more content just like this. See you in the next one.